Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Maximum warp. Punch it. Punch it.
Punch it, Bishop!
Punch it.
Punch that shit!
Let's punch it.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Punch It, episode 95. My name is Charlene Schmidt, and with me, as always, is...
Tristan Riddell.
Tristan Riddell. I want to start the show with a little bit of listener feedback, because I love it when we get emails and messages on Twitter and whatnot, and I just want to give a shout out to a long time listener, Andrew Swearigan, who sent us a message this week with the greeting of, "Hello, Team Lizard Babies." Okay, right then and there, you have my attention. And just to kind of paraphrase what he wrote, he just said, "Hey, I want to let you guys know that I've really enjoyed the most recent run of shows with the what ifs and tying up loose ends, and he liked our episode on Lieutenant Reed, so yay, that's awesome." And he said he wants more of this. I want more loose ends, and he has some suggestions like what happened with Dr. Solar. That's a great freaking idea, by the way. We ought to explore that sometime. Writing the adventures of Dr. Solar, that would be great. And he also said, where did Kes go after she left Voyager? I think we might have actually done that in an old episode. It might have been To the Journey where we explore that just a little bit. It might have been when we rewrote Fury.
Okay.
So I don't have the exact number or anything on hand, but look that up. I think we actually do address that in the past. And this ties into a little bit of what we're going to talk about today, because it has to do with Kes. And you and I, off mic, were questioning, have we done this before? Because what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what if Kes had stayed on the show. So no 7 of 9, just Kes all 7 years. And you and I weren't completely sure if we'd already done this, maybe as a footnote of a small part of another episode, but we've not done it in depth.
It feels like something we have done just because we did over 190 hours of Voyager with To the Journey. And but the thing is, I feel like maybe we did something where what if they didn't get rid of Kes, but 7 still came on board? I think that's a story that we talked about.
Now, that might have been what we did. Yes.
I think that didn't come to me until you talked about the topic just now. And so this is all about just Kes with no 7 of 9. Nothing weird like no extra addition, no swap out or anything like that. No. It's just boom, Kes, no 7 of 9. And this always fascinates me. I like Kes. It's funny because we've talked a lot about Kes before, and I think I've put Kes as my least favorite character on Voyager, but that doesn't mean that I don't like her.
Yes, I think that's in fact exactly what you said at the time.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that whenever somebody sees a ranking or anything like that, even when I put TOS at the bottom of my list or something like that, people are just like, how on earth could you do this? You're like, blasphemer, and it's just insane how we react. And
I have to cut in and say, I love the fact that you added in a free Shatner impression while you said that.
Oh yeah, that's free. Take it home with you. Put your lips around it, chew it. It's fun. It's This is something that Kes is kind of like that, where yes, she's at the bottom of my list, but I really enjoy Kes. I really enjoy Kes episodes. I think Jennifer Lean did a fantastic portrayal as Kes, and I would have loved to have seen her finish the show. I absolutely 100% would have loved to have seen her continue on in any way, shape, or form. And I'm super excited that we're talking about that today. But before we get into that, I do have some network news. We have a brand new partnership with teepublic.com. That's TEEPUBLIC.com. I know I just butchered that, but we're going to have it in the show notes so you don't have to memorize it or anything like that.
That's right. Click the link. Make it easy.
What it means is that you can get really cool, really reasonably priced Nerd Party merchandise from all of your favorite Nerd Party shows. I'm telling you, we have stuff from every single Nerd Party show on this site. I should say podcast, every single Nerd Party podcast. And you want an A24 mug? Boom, you got it. You want a Nerd Nuptial laptop sleeve? Boom, just go there and get it. You want a Punch It t-shirt or sweatshirt? You have access to that because you can pick your color, your size, everything. We got multiple versions of everything. And a few shows actually have multiple logos and multiple artworks associated with it. All you need to do is just go to our show page by going to thenerdparty.com/punchit, and the latest episode will have the link to it. And there's always deals going on right now.
Oh, yeah. Sign up for their email list.
Sign up for their email list. We are actually doing something at the Nerd Party. Even if you missed a Black Friday deal or Cyber Monday deal, we have a special deal going on just for Nerd Party listeners. You can get 25% off if you put in the code HOLIDAYCOOL. We're not putting this on the website. This is just for listeners. Put in the code HOLIDAYCOOL, and it will save 25% off of your entire purchase. And this will end by December 2nd. So get it right now. As soon as you hear this, go and do it, and you'll save some money, and you'll help out the network.
Yeah, and you'll get some cool merch, and it's also a little bit of advertising for us saying, hey, I like this thing. Check this thing out. I love t-shirts for that purpose. It's free advertising, and I do it all the time. I love to support the things that I do with t-shirts, including the other side project I do, the Zocalo Cast, also has a store in TeePublic. I have a couple of those shirts. They're decent quality, guys, so don't think this is a ripoff. It's good stuff.
It's true. We did our research, and we made sure that we didn't hook up with a company that had crappy quality material or anything like that.
Yes, that's very important because there's a lot of companies like this, and the quality varies somewhat. But these guys, they're okay. They do good work. All right. Well, all of that said, and I'm so excited that we have merch now, by the way, we're going to talk about Kes, which I know Philip Gilfus's ears are just so happy right now. Shout out, buddy, to our one of our co-hosts on SETI Alpha 3. He loves Kes. And we're going to talk all about her and what maybe those final 4 years would have looked like with her. We've never heard of 7 of 9. She does not exist. So what are we going to do? How is it going to be different? How is it going to look? Does it change the dynamic of the show at all? We're going to explore all of that. Yay, let's go.
Okay, so the first thing that popped into my head when thinking about this, because I really do like to keep it fresh. I like to keep the ideas kind of flowing on the show, so I don't give these topics too much thought before we turn on the mics. But with this one, the first thing that popped in my head was, okay, so when she was kind of phasing and morphing and transitioning into another realm, towards the end of season 3 and the beginning of season 4. We all know the story about how she propelled Voyager forward and, went through Borg space and everything like that.
Yeah,
and
something
then
like,
she,
what was it, 10,000 light years forward?
Yeah, it was something crazy like that. And so it was a huge gift. I immediately want to erase that. So that never happens. They get through Borg space through other means.
Okay. I was wondering which direction you wanted to go in where that happens and she kind of becomes like a Garrett character where she becomes a semi-regular guest star, or we keep her on the ship. I would rather keep her on the ship too, just for the record.
100%. So I'm glad we're on the same page with that one. I would want to keep that for the end of the show, of the end of the 7 years. I don't know how I'm not saying we change I'm not saying we erase Endgame. I'm sure plenty of people would want us to, but I think she could do it that way where maybe at the last second where they don't know where they're going to go, or they need to turn back to the Delta Quadrant, Kes says, I have a different idea. And so because it was with the Borg in season 4, at the beginning of season 4, there's not too much would change really, because you'd have the same kind of impact. Kes would still save Voyager from the Borg, and she would just propel him. I think so. Yeah. I think at the end of Endgame, maybe she's the reason why
in Endgame
she actually, in Endgame. So Kes would still be the reason why they get saved from the Borg, but in this version they would get home.
Gotcha. That makes some sense, and we could maybe build up that progression a little more as we could see her building her powers more and more to the point where yes, it becomes catastrophic, and at this point she's going to be a fairly old Ocampan woman at 7 years old, 8 maybe. Reaching the end of an average lifespan, because we did meet that group of Ocampans that were well over 20, but let's just say 9 would be a good long life for her. she's getting very close to that point, and her powers have exceeded the capacity of the physical realm, and she goes off into the ether. I like it. I like that a lot. And it's also kind of a nice little twist to Endgame, too. Maybe it looks really hopeless. How's it going to work? Admiral Janeway can't even save the day anymore. Maybe she's dead at this point. Kes can come in and save the day.
Ooh, what if how we changed Endgame, what if we got rid of Admiral Janeway in Endgame?
Oh, Kate Mulgrew will be pissed.
We get rid of, like, there's no time travel, there's no nothing, there's no phasic shielding or anything like that. But Kes becomes the phasic shielding. Kes becomes the secret weapon.
I like it.
And
maybe like what's happening with her starts off as a problem, and then on top of it there's all these things with the Borg, but then she essentially redeems by helping save Voyager. I like that.
And we build that over the course of season 7, so it doesn't come out of nowhere.
Yes, please.
So it's not just an in-game episode thing where all of a sudden she has magic powers that can help them get through Borg space. No, this is something that they've been dealing with. Maybe it's tied to her trying to extend her lifespan. You know, like maybe Tuvok is helping her open up her powers so that she can extend her lifespan at the same time that the Doctor is just like, okay, I'm going to use science. Tuvok is going to use mental powers. And then maybe together we can help extend her lifespan. And then while doing that together, something Marvel-esque happens and she gets these crazy powers.
You were thinking the same thing I was thinking, where maybe something like in the course of these procedures, it's like they break open a dam that lets loose a massive expansion of powers that they can't stop. And it starts harming the ship, sort of like it does on the Gift. Like there's little ship quakes for a while, but they gradually start getting worse and she can't control it. And it starts to get catastrophic where it could potentially destroy everybody. So then what?
Yeah. I think that would be a much cooler thing to talk about in Endgame than the Admiral Janeway story.
Yeah, as much as I love her, but this makes a little more sense in terms of celebrating Voyager and the Voyager crew in and of itself.
So I think how we would have to do it in order to not piss off people by calling her a Deus Ex Machina and say like, well, if she can just propel them all the way home from the Delta Quadrant, why didn't she do it earlier? I think this would not be propelling them forward. I think it would be her utilizing her powers to protect them from the Borg. And so she wouldn't be propelling them thousands of light years. It would be, I'm allowing you to use the tunnels so that you can get through. So it really just gives them an edge to do what they want to do. So it's not like, oh, like the Voyager crew is completely inept and so they need a super being to help them. It's everybody working together.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like how Seven would bring out her Borg modifications every once in a while.
Right. Because that wasn't a little bit of Deus Ex Machina from the get-go. Anyway, yeah, okay, cool. And that also kind of helps give Voyager an edge through Borg space because they're not going to get flung in season 4 out of the heart of Borg territory. So they're going to be dealing with Borg threats left and right. That is one major change that we're going to have to deal with on the show unless there's another way.
I think we do have to find another way. Okay, so cool. Let's create the bookends and then we'll fill in the middle.
Sounds good. Now, the obvious solution is something like a wormhole or something of that nature. Like, do we go to that well? Because Voyager did this in season 1 with like the microscopic wormhole, and they talk with the Romulan guy who was displaced out of time because it cut through time and space. What if they really did find a wormhole, didn't necessarily know how far it went, and took the risk anyway, and it turns out, it was only 10,000 light years, but hey, winning.
What if we build off of that? And this is what gets them hip to the idea of utilizing transwarp hubs. Like, what if somehow they leech on to a Borg cube, and that Borg cube goes through a hub, or like goes through a conduit, and then they escape and they get out, and they're just like, holy crap, these exist. We now know how they work better. We got to keep our eyes open for a hub.
Oh, I like it. So maybe they're observing Borg cubes doing this and realizing they're traveling thousands of light years in one fell swoop. How can they essentially mask themselves and hitch a ride?
So they do that. Like that's the end of Scorpion. They hitch a ride, they go through it, and they're like, okay, we just transported outside of Borg space 10,000 light years.
Well, sort of. They're attached to a cube, more or less. But
right, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like they made it out of Borg space by doing that, by kind of like those little sucker fish that leech onto the sharks or something like that.
Never mind the fact that they were attached to a Borg cube, though. What I'm saying is they're not completely out of Borg space, because Borg space, they're traveling all over the place, but they're out of the heart of it, like they were in Scorpion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so that way, we can kind of have a little bit of that reset where we're not in immediate, constant, all the time danger with Borg cubes. They find some way to hide themselves from this one Borg cube, and then they're kind of they're more or less in the clear. And then we can move on to folks like the Herosian, the Malon, that stuff.
Right. And I think like this kind of maybe it gives a reason as to why they keep encountering the Borg, because Janeway is just crazy enough to seek them out. So whenever there is actually Borg activity, she's like, maybe we could hitch another ride. Like maybe we can find a hub.
Oh, man, yeah, the haters are going to love that. Dang it, Janeway, with you crazy woman, just count your blessings.
I think this would give a little more credence as to why they encounter the Borg so much, and as to why we have so many Borg episodes. It gives a purpose behind it instead of just happenstance.
Yeah, because I think the Borg are going to realize what Voyager did and start tracking him a little bit.
And I think we're going to see, like, maybe there's an episode later on where they find out that, like, oh, we can't do that anymore. They understand that we did it. And so no more hitching any rides, and the only way to do it is if we find a hub.
Yeah. I wonder if maybe we ought to do that so soon as Scorpion or shortly thereafter, and that's what gets them thinking about doing, the transwarp drive. Forgive me if that's not the correct term, but when they do it in Timeless, and they start thank you, Slipstream. I just can't think about it today. They start working on that technology as an alternative.
Sounds good to me.
As another route, like maybe they learned some things from the Borg about how that sort of space works. Can they create it on their own? And that can leave them to that.
Okay, so there we go. There we have it. So we have the explanation of how they get out in Scorpion. We have the explanation of how they get home in Endgame. So that's the bookends for Kes and the Borg saga.
Yes.
How do we define Kes on her own? Does she develop a relationship? Does she not? Does it somehow impede B'Elanna and Tom's relationship? Does she, no?
No, I think the Kes and Paris dynamic kind of faded out after the spaghetti fight. Tom's laid off, and he's got his eyes set on B'Elanna at this point. Let's let that be. If Kes has a relationship, I think it's got to be with somebody else entirely. It's not Neelix, it's not Tom. It's maybe just one of those names that we've heard many times over, like Ayala, or I don't know, maybe Lieutenant Carey, or some random ensign.
Well, he's dead.
It doesn't even really matter. I don't know if I necessarily even want to work so much on a relationship with her, but professionally,
that's fine.
I have a feeling she's going to want a whole lot more to do. She's assisting in medbay. That's great. Probably doing some hydroponics on the side, but they kind of drop that after a while. So we need to maybe give her a new thing to explore. And the first thing that comes to mind is the human mind.
The human mind. Okay. Expand on that.
What if she decided that she wanted to become a de facto ship's counselor? Is that a little too Troy-esque? Because of her telepathic powers and whatnot, but I could see her being so curious about how the mind works, wanting to explore that. She learns voraciously, she learns everything that she can about it, and realizes, hey, she could maybe put this to work a little bit by helping people out through whatever situations they're going through.
I feel I'm resistant to it.
Okay.
And I don't know why. I don't know what, because I feel like maybe you're right. The Troy thing is a little too similar because she's developing her mental powers at the same time she becomes a counselor. It just if if Troy didn't exist, I would think it was a great idea.
No, but I get it because it's basically like saying Troy Redux.
It really is. It's like an amped up Troy. And I think we need to do something a little... I think it's a great idea, but it's a little too reductive of Counselor Troy.
Okay, is there some way we can twist it? Or should we just drop it entirely?
Well, I love the idea of giving her something new, like moving beyond sick bay and beyond the hydroponics bay. I think... Yeah, I absolutely love that idea of giving her something new. I'm just not quite sure what it would be. Let's list off a few things and see if they make sense. I mean, let's start with the ridiculous. Security.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Okay, but even though she'd spend more time with Tuvok, no, it just doesn't work. Why would that work?
She's never had any interest in that whatsoever.
Now, with Seven gone, there's kind of a science void. And
there is. Astrometrics? What if she starts mapping Voyager's journey home and starts really just using her mind and her voracious talent of absorbing knowledge to help maybe plan out alternate routes or something of that nature for Voyager?
Okay, so what, instead of making it specific, okay.
I have an idea. Okay, you remember Twisted, because that's one of your favorite episodes. Where that gelatinous, twisty substance thing that went through Voyager dumped gigaquads of data into the ship's computers. Nobody ever acknowledged this little tidbit at the very end of that story. What if she starts going through that and starts kind of like gaining some knowledge to help Voyager on its journey home? Now, I have to take a drink, everybody. In the novels, Kirsten Beyer does acknowledge this whole thing, but they never did on the show. What if she starts sifting through that data and getting nuggets out of it?
I think that's a good idea. And I think that can be added into what I'm going to say.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like astrometrics itself does not really scream Kes. It doesn't lend itself to be like, oh, Kes would totally do that with Harry Kim. Like, we don't want her to just be a 7 of 9 replacement.
Yeah.
I think, what if after the Borg episode in Scorpion, what if she became obsessed with getting them home? Like, what if she became kind of the de facto getting home expert? Like, at every turn, she was the one who did as much research as possible of, well, I'll look into the data that we got from Twisted, and I'll also investigate this stuff that comes up, or like I'll investigate any wormholes. I'll work with Harry in astrometrics to search for routes to get home. So it's not so much that she built astrometrics like Seven did, but she utilizes it a great deal. So we can see her pop up there constantly.
Okay, so she's researching all the time on how to get Voyager home safely and the most efficiently. Not too terribly different from 7 of 9, but a very different methodology and reasons why.
Yes, very different methodology. Hers is rooted in emotion and sentimentality and care for the crew. And she could even like develop it from like a standpoint of, oh, well, Neelix heard about these people. So what if we go and see these individuals because we can get something from them and trade with those people because they have certain things that can help us get home, that kind of business.
Yes. One thing you're forgetting, though, is by mid-season 3, they'd already gone past the part of space that Neelix knew.
That was a random example.
Oh, okay.
I was just saying it
I'm
to say
getting too technical on you. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. But you're right. It needed to be said. But like something like that, where I think it's still something. I think Neelix still keeps his ear to the ground on trade and everything like that, even though he doesn't know much beyond that system. He still knows how to trade. He knows how to negotiate.
Sure.
But I think like how Neelix is the morale officer, the unofficially, and how he just kind of became that way, I would love to see Kes kind of become the get home expert.
Okay. That works for me if it works for you. I kind of like that, where maybe the events of Scorpion really rattled her so much that she just decided, I'm going to do everything I can to get this crew home safely. Because the caretaker just kind of pulled them out of nowhere, and 70 years is too long to try and survive this storm. We've got to do it now.
And this might be a little, I almost said sci-fi. Um,
Really?
this might feel free to say no, that's stupid.
Okay.
Because this just popped in my head. Where what if between seasons 4 and 7, like halfway in between, like, or maybe one of the many reasons why she became obsessed with getting the crew home is that during the expansion of her abilities, because we've heard her, like with Tuvok, where she started hearing everybody's thoughts and, like she heard Neelix getting a haircut, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
What if something happened and expanded that where she became incredibly linked with the crew? And not to the point where she reads their minds, because that's too basic, but just like emotionally linked and just kind of concerned. And whenever they lose someone, she freaking loses it. She becomes an emotional basket case and feels physical pain. And so it gives her an even more driving force to make sure that everybody's okay.
Because it's affecting her personally.
Yeah.
I think that's a logical progression from what we were saying earlier about how her powers are going to keep increasing to the point of crisis. That just seems like a good middle step.
And I think we need to do it in a way that doesn't feel like we mentioned before with just a reductive Troy, where she's just like, oh, the crew is feeling anxious.
Pain and despair.
We don't want to do that. We
No.
don't want to do that.
No, and you know what that does do, though, is it gives Tuvok even more potential to try and help her block that out, to kind of keep her sane and stable, because she doesn't want to hear all of these thoughts. She doesn't want them to bombard her. And, I mean, privacy issues aside, it's just overwhelming to hear all of that, and how can you get anything done? You would just be, you would be a basket case.
Yeah, exactly. You would be a basket case. And I feel like we've seen this done a couple of times in science fiction. We've seen it done in fantasy and everything like that. Like Angel tread on this ground with Cordelia, where she would get visions of people who were going to die and everything like that. And that was very reminiscent of, the legend of the Banshees, where women who could predict death, they would feel it and then scream at the top of their lungs because they would feel the pain. And so people thought banshees were causing death, but in fact they were actually predicting it. I think that would be interesting episode of Voyager where they're thinking, oh my God, is Kes causing these deaths? And they find out that it's caused from something else, and Kes is just feeling those deaths.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
This brings up a question. In Scorpion, she's kind of having little premonitions of things like Species 8472 and the Borg. Do we want her to be able to sense danger when a threat comes up, like the Herosian? Do we want her to say, okay, these guys, they're bad news, tread carefully? Or no?
I want to say no. I want to say that never happened in Scorpion, because if we do that and she stays, the writers would go to it way too often, and it would become Troy, and then it would become even beyond that, and then they would become she'd basically become a tricorder, where it's a plot.
No.
She would become a plot device.
Okay, no, we're not doing that. Thank you.
So
that settles that.
I say no to that one.
Yeah. Okay. So she never had premonitions at all in Scorpion. Her mind is not at that point yet. Maybe later down the road when it's not quite as. When they can't go to it every single freaking time.
Right. Yeah, develop it much later on. So when they want to go to it, they have limited options as to how many times they can.
Maybe after that proverbial dam breaks loose, then you can do that sort of a thing, because then you've got, 5-7 episodes left of season 7, and it's fine. Okay, we get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the meantime, no, I don't want them to do that, because that's exactly what the writers would do, and they would. So let's not say we did. Okay, so that settles that. So professionally, she has a mission. She has her why. She is motivated. We've got a lot of things for her to do, and I think we're utilizing her well. She's got a lot of purpose on the show. Now, I said earlier I didn't really want to explore relationships, but should we go there?
Well, okay. I think it's fine to have the notion that she doesn't have a relationship. I'm totally fine with that. I think it's okay for her to just be single and focused on career and focused on that. But it's so hard from a television standpoint to leave someone alone and not hook them up with someone.
Yeah.
Let's riff a little bit
Okay.
Let's not say a definite direction. Like what we're talking about is not how we're going to go necessarily. But let's talk about the options on the show. So we're ending the Neelix relationship that needed to end.
Yeah, very much so.
So we're moving on from that. We don't want to do Paris because he's going to be with B'Elanna, and we love that relationship.
Yeah.
There's no 7 of 9.
Nope.
And so Tuvok is married. And
yeah, they're
so
not getting involved.
So they're not getting involved. So that leaves Harry and Chakotay. What do you think of those options?
I think Harry is the much better candidate, especially since they would be working together fairly often in astrometrics and teching the tech. Maybe do they try a relationship?
I think if she went with Harry, they would try it, it would last a little bit, and it would end.
I think so too, and I think in a way it would be good growth for Harry in terms of having to let go of the prospect of getting home, which has a weird dichotomy to it, because Kes is at this point severely focused on getting the crew home, but him letting go of Libby is going to be a big deal for him. Even after all this time, maybe there's just still a part of him that can't let go. He's still in love with her, and he tries with Kes, but it does fail. So then what? Is he a wreck? I don't know.
I came up with something just now.
What's that?
And I don't know if I even want to say it.
Aww.
I want you to say no to me, okay? I want you to say no to me.
I can't promise anything.
I want you to say that this is a horrible idea. It's too dark. It's too depressing. Okay? I want you to. What I'm about. This is not where we're going to go, and you're going to say no, Tristan. That's stupid.
Okay, I'm ready.
What if Harry and Kes get together? They hit it off famously. They're just like, boom. Why didn't we see this before? Why didn't this happen before? They fall in love, and her Elogium comes to bear. And they get pregnant, and the baby doesn't make it. And that was her one and only shot at having a child, as we've found out before that the Elogium only happens once. And their relationship does not survive that.
Ooh. Oh. Where is this coming from? Do you need to see somebody? Like, dang, that is dark.
It is dark.
Dramatically.
Yeah.
It does make some sense, and emotionally that is heart-wrenching, just because one thing I did want to bring up before we wrapped up the show was Elogium, and just we know that Kes wanted so desperately to be a mother, and I could see those two absolutely devastated by it.
I think it gets to the point where like Kes just can't be around Harry, can't look at Harry because he just makes her think of
their
the child that was lost.
Yeah, okay. So then between those two, though, I mean, they're devastated. Personally, how do they deal with this? We have to show this.
I don't think they do deal with it. I think it's something that they carry with them for the rest of the show.
Oh God. I hate that part. Because, I don't know, I think there needs to be some sort of resolution. They need to be able to process their grief somehow, even if it is at the cost of their relationship. That's not the problem. It's just they have to be able to, they can't be crippled as people.
No.
It's not that doesn't mean they forget. It just means they have to find a way to live with it.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Okay, I understand now. There needs to be some sort of catharsis. There needs to be some sort of point of healing.
Yeah.
I don't think it happens right away. I think it happens much later. I think it happens maybe even a season after, where they figure out how they can at least work together. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe they do rekindle something. Maybe they get back together,
maybe
like a year later
after a
or something
while.
like that.
Yeah, like let's say she has her Elogium around season 5, and then towards the end of the show, they start kind of getting closer again. Like they really do miss each other.
Oh, one thing that I did not bring up, I imagined, did we specify this, that Kes would leave the ethereal plane at the end of Endgame? Are we still going with that?
I think that was implied just by what we outlined was going to happen in that. Yeah.
Okay. So how would this go with Kim? So they get together. I say in season 4, maybe they get together. She has Elogium in season 5. It doesn't work out. They're not together in season 6, maybe things are rekindled in season 7. But then that makes her exit that much more bittersweet.
Right, because he really does have to let her go.
Yeah, he has to legit let her go, and he like we have a scene where he goes, he's like, I feel like I just got you back.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Oh man, I'm getting verklempt at my own idea here.
Oh, the fanfic writers are gonna love and hate this so much, and I really feel so bad for Harry. He's already the whipping boy of the show, and we're just whipping him that much harder. However, we are giving him some personal growth.
Yes.
And we're giving Garrett Wang things to do, and we know that he can act, so let's give him a little bit of a chance to emote for once in a while. So, I mean, as heartbreaking as this is, I am not going to say no. I'm going to say, let's do this. Let's give Voyager a little bit of pulling at the heartstrings and make these characters go through some crap.
That's what I want to do. I want to... It's hard because you want your characters to grow and evolve, and you want them to go through drama, but at the same time, you're protective of these characters.
Yes.
Because you love them and you don't want bad things to happen. But this is, like, as you know, and as a lot of my listeners know, if you listen to my Nerd Nuptial show, which I host with my wife, my child had a very hard time getting here.
Very much so, yeah.
And this kind of scenario was on my mind. Like, there was a real chance that this could have happened to me, could have happened to us, me and my wife. And so these horrible things pop into your brain. And I'm going to share something with the listeners here, which I haven't told anybody. And my wife would be absolutely fine with me sharing this.
Okay.
There was a time when we were, the baby was born, and we were sitting in, like, we were separated. Like, she was in the NICU, we were in another room, and because we couldn't be with her 100% of the time.
Right.
And so my wife and I are sitting down, and we get a call from the upstairs, and they're like, "Oh, are you in the room right now?" They're like, "Yes, we'd like to come." And actually, no, we call them up and say, like, "Oh, we'd like to see the baby." And they're like, "Hold on real quick, you can't come up. We'll call you back." And then so we're waiting. We're like, what's going on? We get another call, and they say, like, "Are you in the room?" They're like, "Yes." "Okay, the doctor's going to come down and see you." And they didn't tell us why. They didn't tell us what was going on. And so my wife and I are sitting there, and we're thinking the worst. We're just like,
how can you
gone.
not?
How can you not? We got so angry with the hospital because they did this to us. Now, obviously, it turned out fine. But we're like, is the baby gone? Is our
What's
child
going on? Yeah, is she in distress?
dead? Is she in distress? Is she dead? And so, like, in that moment, you live a universe of multiple lifetimes where you run through every possible circumstance in your head where you're just like, what's it going to be like with this baby no longer in our lives? Is our marriage going to survive?
Yeah.
Like, I love my spouse more than life itself. We're going to get through this. And then you ask yourselves, can we get through this? If you ever went through this, you're lying to yourself if you didn't ask yourself those questions. And you're just like, do we have another child? Do we adopt? Do we swear off children altogether? All these things happen.
Right.
And so this event scarred me, and I don't want to do this to a character, but at the same time, this is something that a lot of people have gone through, are going through, will go through, and it doesn't always turn out positive like it did for me. Like, my baby's healthy, my baby's happy, my baby's here, but that is not always the case. And sometimes people have to go through that. And I think this would be a way to show a type of sci-fi situation that where people who have gone through that kind of trauma can relate and see light at the end of the tunnel on the other side.
Yes, to watch the characters go through their coping process, certainly relatable, and if done in a good and proper way, can show even people who haven't gone through this sort of situation that it's dark, it's horrible, but the human spirit, or the Ocampan spirit, whatever it is, the spirit, like just the tenacity to keep going is strong in all of us. You'll find a way. There's always a way. So showing that on the show is not necessarily a bad thing. I think a lot of people would relate to that. Absolutely. And certainly, I mean, every parent imagines at some point a crisis where, what if they did lose their child or children? because it
Yeah.
could happen anytime, anywhere. Freak car accident, natural disaster. How can you not think the worst? It can happen. And so, yeah, it's going to pull at a lot of people's heartstrings for sure. Yeah. And what would be kind of interesting is to see maybe Kes and Harry have that discussion. Like you were just talking about how they've lived a million lifetimes over the course of what was maybe, I don't know, a few days where the child ended up not making it, thinking about their future, what was it going to be like, and not having any real answers because they're just so, I would say, numbed in that moment. And so then you kind of conclude that moment with, we just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other and let things unfold. Nothing is definite yet.
Now, some people might be thinking that we're drawing parallels from the second to last episode of Enterprise, where there was I don't want to say clone baby, but like a baby made from genetic material from Trip and T'Pol, and that baby did not survive. Now, this is a different situation.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, I was very much thinking about it because that moment always stuck with me. Like, I loved that was the final moment of the episode because it ended on hope, like kind of alluding to Spock, coming about, like alluding to maybe Trip and T'Pol would one day get together, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it was the perfect ending to Enterprise. Why'd they have to ruin it?
But with our situation, we're talking about two people in a committed relationship who tried to get pregnant, who wanted to get pregnant, who were there from the beginning and the end, and who wanted to stay together, couldn't, but then one day got back together. So like the only similar element is that a child that shared their genetic material did not survive. That's it. That's the only similar element. We're going in a much deeper, much more intimate avenue than Enterprise did.
I think so. And with the way, Voyager already has Tom and B'Elanna. Voyager is very much about relationships, and not in a soap opera sense either. So we're showing a good relationship with Tom and B'Elanna. We're showing, I would say, a more difficult relationship with Harry and Kes. But again, relationships come in all shapes and sizes and forms, and you have to show the good times and the bad times. The strongest of couples weather all of it together. They grow together. They learn from it together. And even if it does ultimately drive them apart for a little while, I do think as an audience, we would be rallying for them to get back.
Yes. And it would make us bawl our eyes out during Endgame.
Oh, hell yeah.
When he has to say goodbye.
Oh, okay. And then Endgame is just the biggest tearjerker ever. And Voyager does get home, but it's a little bittersweet. And it's way better than what we saw. So
Harry crying at the end of Endgame has nothing to do with them actually getting home.
Dang. Who would have thought? Well, shall we wrap it up there?
I think this was an emotional journey for me going through it, and I think it was for you too. This was a rough what if.
It was for me, and I've not even been through what you and your wife went through.
I feel like there's some people who will listen to this episode and understand, who will empathize what's going on because they went through it, and I think there's other people who empathize because they're just human beings. We're all on the journey together, and
We've got empathy.
Like I said before, like I hate to do these to characters, but at the same time, it can be cathartic for people who have gone through it or gone through something like that. So I think this is a great place to end. I think we have some great bookends where, there's no Seven. Kes stays on board. She becomes the get home expert, and she gets into a relationship with Harry. We just talked about how that would go down. She tries to develop her powers. It happens. She gets empathetic towards the crew. And she is the reason why they get out of the Borg hub and gets them home. And I think this is, we put Kes front and center of the show. We give her a much stronger role in these final seasons as opposed to a secondary role in the first couple of seasons. So I think this is and we didn't change anything about her personality.
No, and it really is kind of sad that they really kind of let the character languish a little bit in season 3 and then ultimately did write her off the show. I always thought Kes had tons of potential. There were a lot of things they could do with her. I do not buy the reasoning as to why they ultimately did write Kes and Jennifer Lean off the show, which was, we just weren't sure what we were going to do with the character after this. BS.
Yeah. Yeah.
BS. Yeah, we did it in 45 minutes, and we were doing it live to tape. These were just us spitballing ideas, and I think we got some good stuff out of it. So, and we're not even, we don't even operate in writers' rooms. It's not like we're experts at this. We do this for fun. This is the home version, and we could do it. So, come on, guys, come on. All right.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Andrew, for writing in. Please, everybody else, write in. Let us know what you think of these What If episodes. And if you want us to keep doing more, how you can let us know is by going to thenerdparty.com/contact, select Punch It from the drop-down menu, fill out the form, and it will send us an email.
Yes, and if you have suggestions for what ifs or tying up loose ends that you want to throw our way, by all means, let us know. We just might take you up on that offer, and we'll give you a shout-out, just like we did to Andrew on the show.
And you can find us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just by going to thenerdparty.com. And also, as we talked about at the top of the show, please get some merchandise. Use that code, Holiday Cool. Put in Holiday Cool, all one word, into the code and get 25% off. The link will be in the show notes. You can find that link by going to thenerdparty.com/punch it. Well, Shar, this was a fantastic episode. This was a lot of fun to talk to you about.
This was fun.
And next week, whatever we talk about, we're going to punch it.
Ready for warp, sir. Let's punch it.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.